Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to talk about L.E. Modesitt Jr.'s sci-fi standalone book, The Eternity Artifact. But before we get into the review, as always, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos come on out. Um, Also, leave a comment down below, something that you think I should read and review. I always love to hear from you guys, or just comments that you have, maybe about this book if you've read it or if you haven't and plan to. Also, help spread the word. It helps me out, and it's safe or it's free and fast for you. So going into this book, it's a little interesting. It's set 5,000 years in the future, and there are four main characters, and we basically have four different narratives, four first-person narratives, one for each one. There's Fitzhugh, who is a professor who used to be a commando, but a lot of people don't know that. There's Lieutenant Chang, who, or she becomes a lieutenant, she's a pilot. Um, and then there's Barna, who is an artist. And then Goodman, who is a he's an agent of the of a group that's against this project, and he does play a major role, though he does kind of phase out for a while. But the three other main characters are the ones that the story is really told to. And they're all brought in on this DSS project where they're going to be going to this ancient civilization that was left billions of years ago. And they're going to try to find technology, artifacts, something that they can use against the different kinds of groups that are around, like the Sunnis and the CWs and the 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 Crusaders. Where you have basically two of the three groups vow about religion, and they don't want to see anything come out of this expedition because it's either going to show that there is a civilization that was higher than us, which now does that make us God's main creation, or did they have technology of the devil, of Satan? So there brings that aspect into it. Um, there's a number of elements that Modesitt Jr. brings in, as he usually does, the religious point, believing on blind faith or not believing on blind faith. Um, how how one uses power. Again, does one use power for good or is it for bad? Um, but the main thing is that they're going to this planet called Danan, and or at least that's what they're calling it. There really is no name for it. It's by this other planet called Kronos, which they had named as well. Um, and it's basically supposed to be this 1 year expedition where they do their archaeology and their findings, and I mean they bring all sorts of people from linguists, and they've got somebody there for that. So the story is told through each of these characters and through their eyes. And I think that serves the book well. It keeps it flowing very well, it being a 464 page book. Um, you think that at some point it might slow down or it might just be kind of but the way that he brings the story through the characters' eyes, I think it is really good. And they all have sort of sobering moments. Fitzhugh, the professor, is more like he kind of keeps to himself in a sense. He's very professorial. He doesn't even want to go on this. He didn't even apply for it, but because he was an ex-commando, he was sort of volunteered or roped into it. And his university basically said, well, look, it's a sabbatical. Look at it as a sabbatical. You're going to go whether you want to or not. You're still going to get paid. And then the DSS is going to pay you on top of that. So whether or not he wants to go is immaterial. He has to go. He has no other choice. Um, then there's Chang, who is the pilot, and she's considered by most to be a femme bitch, meaning a very tough girl who doesn't trust men, doesn't trust women, doesn't trust people in authority, doesn't trust people below her. Maybe even not even people who are her equals. She doesn't trust anybody. She's really sort of the loner. Um, and she was sought out through this other agency that she was kind of working for as a pilot. And they wanted somebody who was the best, and they felt she was one of the best. So they bring her in. Then there's Barna, who is the artist. Supposed to be one of the best artists within this world or this galaxy. And for doing what he wants to do, not taking commissions that most artists would. And in fact, he turns one down right before this. And his girlfriend, I think that's who it is, girlfriend or maybe fiance, I don't think it's a wife, but they basically own the studio together. She tells him, you better not refuse another commission. Well, the next one to come in is basically the commission for this. And they tell him, well, your partner will get a 5,000 credit a month stipend, and you're going to get X amount of credits for what you do. And he basically, his only thing is that he wants artistic creativity. He wants to be able to paint what he sees, paint what he wants, basically, and yet still have the rights to most of it if he wants to sell it or show it. And they say, well, within reason, there are things that you might paint that we don't want people to see, but for the most part, you're going to be able to do what you want to do. So he takes it, and he he has a sobering moment as he befriends a mathematician who has been basically prolonged. Her life has been prolonged, and she's very, very old. And they become really good friends. And he would have never thought that he would have become friends with somebody who was like maybe a grandma or a great grandma in terms of age, as well as somebody who's a mathematician who, I mean, he says as an artist, I don't see the numbers that you do. I see the angles, the artistic things. I don't see the numbers and the geometry necessarily that you see. But they become really good friends. And his sobering moment comes, and again, this is where, if you don't want spoilers, you might want to turn the video off if you plan on reading the book. If not, then keep it going, and you can see, and I'll let you know what happens. But basically, she passes away, and to him, it's a very sobering moment. It's a moment where he realizes, hey, we're not going to live forever. I'm not going to live forever. I need to be, I know now what I need to do in the future. I need to make friends with the people that I wouldn't have made friends with before, and without grudges. Um, Taking commissions that I probably would normally not take, though I don't have to take everyone, but be a little more at ease with them. And so that's his sobering moment. For Fitzhugh and Chang, they become entwined. They become, I guess, a couple by the end. Um, Nobody really knows of Fitzhugh's background, other than the core that put him on the project. The Deep Find project is what it's called. And everybody realizes now who he is when there's an attack in the mess hall by two serving people, and he jumps into action really quick and very powerful. And Chang's there, she sees it, and he basically he saved lives, her actions saved lives, but that's when she realizes, hey, this guy's more than a professor. And he basically saved my life and who knows how many other lives. And she becomes interested, not necessarily in that way. Though I think Fitzhugh at that point, he's already kind of interested in her, but from a different perspective. Because Fitzhugh can be difficult to read his sections because he's very verbose. He speaks a lot, uses big words, which is not what Chang is. And but Chang realizes that he listens to her. He values her opinion. He's willing to not to stop talking to let her talk and to get her perspective and to respect that perspective, even if he doesn't agree with it. So they eventually come together, and there's all these different. There's a battle that takes place as they're going out to the planet. Um, there's a battle. There's battles when they're leaving the planet. Like they only stay for like 4 months. This thing's supposed to be a year, and it doesn't last that long. It's 4 months because they know that there's going to be other people coming, and they basically find an artifact. Barna actually finds the artifact, and he gets, I don't want to say ostracized by the scientists, but the main scientist isn't very happy because, hey, it was an artist that found it. It wasn't one of like us. It wasn't one of us technical people, the people that should be the ones finding this. But it was an artist. So at that point, I mean, he's got like a lot of pictures of the artifact. It ends up getting taken on the ship. It's a big artifact. The way it ends, nobody really knows what it is. But there's basically this huge battle as they're coming through the last of the gates. And it's because really nobody wants to see, or at least none of the other groups want to see this artifact come to light. Whether it can be used or not, whether it works or not, just the symbolical feeling of what the artifact is what makes this such a dangerous thing. Um, I thought it was a good book. I read some negative reviews on Goodreads, and I try not to let those reviews really bother me or affect me because I figure I'm going to read I'm going to form my own opinion, and that's really what this is my opinion. Now at this point, and then if you want to read it, you can form your own opinion and say what you think. But I liked it. I thought it was interesting being from the perspective of multi narrators. You don't see it very often, but he carries it off very well. And I think the action is paced nicely. I think with it spanning through the eyes of the different characters, I think that helps the pace along. Um, but again, Modesitt Jr. again toward the very end saves those last 50, 60 pages for the last couple of big events. And then, you know, there's in this one there's not even really a happily ever after. This is what happened kind of thing. You work it out for yourself. So I liked it. I thought it was a good book. I give it 5 stars on Goodreads and on Bookly. Um, just because to me this one was easy to follow as a sci-fi book. It's not one that I had to sit there and wait for explanations on because again I'm still kind of new to the sci-fi theme. But I enjoyed it. 5 stars. I would recommend it, especially if you're an Ellie Modesitt Jr. fan and you haven't read it. It's a standalone book, so there's not another one in a series that you have to read with it or before it or after. This is it for it. So yeah. So with that, again, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos come on out because they're coming out kind of quick now. They're gonna probably slow up because I'm on spring break right now, and once I go back to work and my schooling begins again, things are gonna sort of slow down a bit. Um, but I still intend on doing my reading and doing the videos here, doing the reviews. So as always, please help spread the word. It's free for you and it helps me out in the long run. I appreciate your support. So with that, until next time, as always, keep YouTube literate